Welcome to this deep dive into a critical yet often unseen threat in IT infrastructure. We're talking about silent hardware failures, specifically those tricky ones starting from faulty chips deep inside your network gear. By the end of this, you'll get why maybe the best IT defense isn't just a firewall. It might actually be knowing exactly what's inside your network, right down to the individual chip.
That's right. And these aren't just, theoretical risks we're discussing. They absolutely happen, and when they do, well, they can turn really vital, expensive equipment into basically a boat anchor. We're talking about failures that can lead to multi-million-dollar consequences. So our mission today is really to unpack how smarter asset management, things like tags, real-time data, how that's becoming the new frontline defense against these hardware vulnerabilities.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, maybe let's look at a real story. You mentioned something from 2017 involving Cisco gear.
Yeah, exactly. There was this specific chip issue. After about, say, 18 months in operation, it would just fail. It would completely brick the device, turn to critical router, or switch into, well, dead weight.
Bricked. Okay. And the fallout from that kind of failure, it's got to be more than just replacing the box.
Oh, way more.
Hmm.
The fallout was potentially immense. Think about it.
Yeah.
If a customer was just relying on the manufacturer's records, which might not be up to the minute accurate for their specific setup, their whole security infrastructure could just collapse.
Collapse.
Yeah, you're looking at massive downtime, potential data exposure, maybe even opening the network right up for a breach. It's not just an inconvenience,
Right.
It's a potential catastrophe waiting in the wings.
And yeah, boat anchor almost sounds too mild for anyone in IT who's seen that happen live, that sheer panic. The financial side alone is staggering. We see figures like $100 up to $1 for a major outage from hardware failure per incident.
Exactly. And then you layer on things like cyber attacks coming from firmware compromises. That can top $1 millers for almost a third of businesses. Even counterfeit devices sneaking in with vulnerabilities can cost you $10, $100 case, or even more.
So this Cisco thing wasn't just a one-off headache then?
No, not at all. Cisco, like many large vendors, has faced quite a few issues tied to chip integrity over the years. You might remember things like the ThranGreeCat exploit. That was a nasty flaw in certain network devices. Or issues with hard-coded credentials. Now imagine that kind of problem, but multiplied across thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of devices deployed globally. It quickly becomes a huge multi-billion-dollar concern for organizations everywhere.
It really does sound like fighting an invisible enemy. So, okay, how do we stop the next boat anchor situation? You mentioned a kind of secret weapon from back then, an internal asset management platform, LAMP.
Yes, LMP. It was pretty revolutionary for its time because it tracked serialized assets right down to the PID level. That's the product identification code. Really specific.
PID level. Okay, so super granular. What did that let teams do?
Well, that granularity meant they could instantly pinpoint exactly which assets were affected by a known issue, like that chip problem. They could then proactively notify their customers before the hardware failed and speed up the whole return material authorization, the RMA process, getting replacement gear out faster.
Faster than the vendor, even.
In some cases, yes. They could prioritize their affected customers sometimes quicker than Cisco could sort through its broader install base. I remember one instance where a customer was told by Cisco, nope, you're clear. But LMEP found a specific, vulnerable serial number right in the heart of their data center. That device was likely just weeks or months away from failing. That's the power of real-time, detailed insight.
That's incredible. But some might argue, well, shouldn't we just trust our vendors to handle this? Why is this internal proactive approach still so vital now?
It's critical because the landscape is complex. And frankly, vendors have massive scales to manage. But more importantly, the technology for internal tracking has leaped forward. We're seeing this accelerated move now towards much smarter asset management. Think 2D barcodes, NFC tags, those little chips you tap your phone on. And structured platforms like Rainfall Digital are bringing it all together.
Right. And these aren't just fancy inventory lists anymore.
Not at all. It's way beyond simple inventory. These systems combine structured metadata about the device, digital product passports to verify authenticity, maybe fight counterfeits, and cloud-integrated asset databases that are always up to date. It's about making every single device intelligent and auditable within your environment.
Okay, so for you listening, the payoff is pretty clear then. It's about speed, knowing what you have, where it is, instantly. It's about trust in your data, moving beyond messy spreadsheets. And ultimately, it's about building that proactive defense against these sneaky hardware issues.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. Once your assets are properly tagged, connected, structured, You can bring in AI.
Ah, AI.
Huh.
How does that fit in here?
Well, AI can analyze all that granular data. It can correlate asset information with known vulnerability databases, with performance trends, with failure reports. It essentially turns all that raw data into predictive power.
So, like predicting failures before they happen.
Exactly. Imagine AI spotting aging chips that are linked to those early failure PIDs we talked about, or predicting firmware risks based on how updates have been rolled out or haven't, or even flagging inconsistencies like mismatched serial numbers in models, which could indicate problems. It alerts teams before a failure cascades through the network.
So you could have an IT team member walk up to a rack.
Yeah, walk the data center floor, look at a device, maybe scan its tag with a phone, and instantly get an alert. Hold on, this router, it's affected by that known chip defect. Based on its age and usage pattern, it's maybe 30 days from likely failure. You should submit an RMA right now.
Wow, that doesn't sound like science fiction anymore.
It's not. It's just structured data being applied in a really practical, powerful way. And what's fascinating here is that the future of IT asset management, it isn't just about putting labels on boxes. It's fundamentally about building resilience. Because really, no infrastructure is totally immune to these silent hardware threats. Doesn't matter if it's Cisco, Juniper, Palo Alto, whoever.
So these smart tagging systems tied together with AI insights, they're kind of democratizing this proactive risk management, making it accessible beyond just huge companies with custom platforms.
Precisely. It brings that level of foresight and control within reach for more businesses, which I think raises a really important question for you, for everyone listening. The question isn't really if these chip-level failures or similar hardware issues will happen again. They almost certainly will.
The real question is, will you know about it in time? In time to actually prevent a disaster? Something to definitely think about as you consider building truly resilient infrastructure right from the asset level up.